stream was not allowing, they had blocked me seeing the chat room, said it was unavailable. So I am posting now on various social media. What I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to take some of your questions near the end. But what I'm going to talk about is some of the prophecies that I've had over the years and what's starting to happen, where it's going to take us. But then also I'll talk about the current events. But then most importantly is I want to share with you guys some things you can be doing now to get through this, because this wave that we're going through is going to last longer than you think. And we need to be proactive and have a positive mental attitude to get through this. This is something that I have seen coming for a while, and I have spoken about in my lectures over the years, starting back in 2011. And I have spoken about on my podcast, as well as on various radio stations that I've appeared on, that we saw something like this coming. So do I have all the answers? No, I don't. All I saw was how we unfortunately handled it, and it wasn't always in the best way. So I am here to guide you guys the best I can, and then there's going to be others, of course, that will try to do what they can as well for you. So let's see what we got here. Okay. All right. We've got a lot of you on here, so thanks for joining. Let me reiterate what we're going to be discussing, and it's a couple things. I know people are still going to be joining in because the other stream got cut off, but we're going to be talking about prophecy, current events, and some temporary solutions to get through this, as well as questions and answers for you guys. And there's a lot of you jumping on here, so thank you. Keep yourself safe. I will. Okay. Here's the thing I want to share with you guys. And some of you that have been following me over the years may already know about this. Now, the worst thing we can do, and sometimes I'm to blame for that, and I know, is you get a vision. Prophecy is based on precognition and visions that you can get. You can get it in the dream state. You can get this flash when you're somewhere, this sixth sense, like, oh my God, something's going to happen. I have to react to this, respond to this, or you don't. And you're like, oh my God, I just knew that was going to happen. But sometimes when we get these visions, because on the other side and the collective consciousness that exists of all events within time and space, we in the human mind aren't able to gauge exactly when that is. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes we got a feeling, okay, it's going to be really soon. And then sometimes we have no idea. Back in January 24th, 2011, I had a prophetic experience in my house when I was in my bedroom. The walls opened up. I saw a bunch of things. And the weird thing about it was there were flashes of events, as if a movie was playing and overlapping one after the other. Very similar to what we see in the Apple software with the time machine, where you have all the windows, and the windows you can rotate and scroll through them. That's what was occurring, okay? In this vision, which now I realize, and back then I discussed, was a prophetic vision. The first thing I saw was Obama. Now, this was when obviously Obama was in his first term, and I realized from this vision he was going to have a second term. But then also I had assumed incorrectly that there was going to be martial law with Obama and that he was going to try to stay in power, something like that. Here's why I falsely assumed that. Seeing Obama speak, right after that, I saw all these different events. I saw rioting, people in the streets. I saw military in the streets and martial, what I believe was martial law, as there was vehicles and police and military that were in some type of black with masks on and with guns and stuff like that, trying to curb the unrest. Now, the personal vision that occurred in there, that now I know this is the time period, is that I was at my mom's house in this vision, and we were watching the TV, and we're like, oh my God, they're telling us we can't go anywhere, that we have to stay home because of this event, and that all these things will be shutting down. Now, remember, this vision was in January of 2011, and my mindset at that time was thinking, oh no, they're shutting everything down. I can't go to the gym. I'm not going to be able to go to the gym. What am I going to do? I can't go anywhere. Can't work, can't do this, can't travel. I'm stuck. And then the other thing is they also stated that distribution was going to be shut down, trucks. Well, why that was important to me at that time really made no sense. But I was like, oh no, they're shutting all the trucks down. Well, what's interesting about that particular detail is 2016, I invested in a trucking company that did distribution, would do deliveries. And I'm no longer involved in that, but still it's a concern because I have a lawsuit with them, against them. So distribution is obviously important for us to get our food, to get our resources, supplies, as well as for business and the economy. So I had this feeling that that eventually is going to be shut down temporarily. So when these events started happening that I'm seeing overseas in China, I started thinking, wow, you know, there's stuff going on based on some other prophecies I had. In May 20th, I apologize, May 20th, 2019, I spoke about the wave. I spoke about this on Instagram on my highlights, and the video is up there. You can go to my Instagram account later and you can watch the video. And I also spoke about it on Facebook, and it should be in my timeline around May 20th of 2019. Let me share with you only what I saw in this wave, okay? This is the wave I saw. Is I'm on the other side. I'm walking with this prophet, this apostle, and he says, walk with me. I need to talk to you. And as we're walking, he says, listen to me. This is very important. There's a wave coming. Now remember, this is May 20th, 2019. He says, there is a huge wave coming. And this tide before it and during and in between the waves is going to pull people in. You can't get caught up in that. You can't get caught up in the politics between Republicans and Democrats and this and that. You can't get caught up in the arguing, well, this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen, as well as all the untruths and the disinformation that's going to be coming out. It's going to pull people into this tide where they start turning against each other because everybody wants to be right. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm kind of understanding this. And the way he was saying was that these events that are going to occur are going to cause people to be all over the place. Some people will be perfectly grounded and a lot of people won't. They'll be confused. They'll have this anxiety and this confusion. He said, this is what's coming. So you need to stay on your boat and get to dry land, keep your feet grounded, and remember what everything truly is in the universe, who you truly are, you know, as we're spiritual beings, this and that, all the challenges you and other people in the world have gone up and through, and then they always get through it because people are resilient. We can always overcome stuff. We destroy stuff and we rebuild. Now, right now, obviously, you're like, okay, well, it seems really extreme, Chris, to what's going on because it's really not that bad. You're right, it's not. But what I'm sharing with you, what this wave was, is there was going to be events after events. And to not get caught up in all this craziness and chaos that is occurring in certain places and going to occur because this event is going to be longer than we think it is. And then there's going to be other events after that later in the year. So what we must do is we must focus on who we truly are to get through this, be considerate and compassionate of other people. Now, I wrote some stuff down that I had written down previously from about this wave. It says that this massive information we are getting can cause even more panic. Basically, is that we may stray away from some of these things. We may drown from some of this. So as this wave comes, prepare yourself internally to basics, to the things that are really prioritized within your life that's important, your family, your friends, your pets, certain things that you do. Now, I understand a lot of people are losing their jobs because of this. Yes, I've lost all the work that I've had this month and the next couple months. Those are the lectures, the appearances, and some filming. So is that the most important thing to me right now? Well, it would help financially, but what's really important is maintaining a positive mental attitude and a mindset to get through this. And you can get through that with many different things. And some of these things I want to share with you. Okay? Another thing that occurred to me that I had written down in my journal, because I keep a journal when I have visions, when I have dreams, and I have paranormal events. July 19th, 2019, I was woken up and a voice came from the left side of my room that says, Chris, it's time. It's time. What does that mean? Well, going back to the prophecy, the vision from January 2011, I believe that's what was being said. Now, on New Year's, I stayed in on New Year's, December 31st, 2019. And then as obviously the time changed, now we're in January 1st, 2020, I toasted to myself and I said, here we go. This is the year that there's going to be a lot of challenges around the world and within the United States. History is going to be made, and there's going to be some craziness that goes on. And people have no idea it's coming. Now, I told some of my closest friends this, and I said, I hope I can personally make it through this year because it's going to be a lot of challenges for myself personally as well. So I said, well, whatever it is, I'm going to take each day as precious and make the best out of each day and those that are closest to me, which is something that we should do anyway within life because we always get distracted by all these other things. So it's going to be a rough ride. There's going to be some turbulence. There's going to be some waves. And you know what? Human history has always been that way with the wars, plagues that have happened many years ago, economy collapses. So whatever this is, we are going to get through this together. And if you don't think that way, you have to be that way. But you have to not think like you did in the past. You have to think today and look at strip some things out of your mindset and say, okay, what is it I need to do today? What can I do today? Because some people are freaking out. I don't know if I can stay in my house. I don't know if I can do this. Well, it's only going to be for a period of time. It's not going to be forever. It's going to be a short period of time. But in that time, you must say, okay, what can I do within this time? Well, on January 14th of 2020, January 14th, 2020, I had another vision. And I posted this also on my Twitter. And I've posted these things that have happened in the past, these visions, on my social media. I saw this big black mass, and I was somewhere else on the planet. And this big black mass, and these people were running out of complete sheer panic and fear. And they were ignoring me and running away from this thing. So as I looked at this, at first I thought, okay, it was a big storm. It was like a class 5 tornado, something like that. But as I looked closer, there was no wind to it, and it was eating everything in its path. Now, there was a metaphor to this. And I believe it's one of the following things, okay? Is number one, when I looked at this thing, I realized it had its own consciousness that was a combination of fear, panic, and everything. So was this an entity or some evil form that came out of CERN, came from space like a black hole or something like that? Maybe. Or two, was it a massive collective fear of a lot of people all over the world and anxiety that had built up into the ether, and that a lot of us were afraid to face this, and that we must dispel that darkness, dispel that fear, and raise everybody up so we don't create that all over the planet. Because here's the thing, if we do, there's going to be a lot of problems. And my biggest fear from these visions that I've seen, especially the one from January 2011, is that if we don't handle these waves together and take care of whoever we can, we're going to see our governments and everybody else blaming everybody else that could cause a war. And the last thing we want is a war because of all these challenges that everybody's going through. And what happens, as you see going on and probably going to get worse, is politics, no matter who it is in what country, tends to blame somebody else and taking responsibility for their own country. And even if something else comes in, they want to blame somebody else. So we have to be very careful about that we don't go playing these blame games and everything and get that mad and bring up that type of energy to where we could end up causing a war by the end of this year or next year. We don't want that. So collectively, the whole point of me bringing up some of these prophecies is we need to handle this. And the best way to handle that is to keep ourselves busy with what we can do and to share some of these positive affirmations and compliments to one another to get through this. Now, the first wave began this year with the thing with Iran. When we bombed Iran, the United States bombed Iran, took out their second in charge, and then Iran kind of bombed some things at us. The tensions were high. Remember? And then they slowed down. The next wave came, which is this coronavirus. Now, this coronavirus is going to cause a lot of economic and political problems. And it's going to cause problems for lots of people. And I want to tell you, I understand some of you have written to me and told me that you don't have much food, you're worried about this, you're out of work, you're getting angry at other people because you don't have a job. I understand. We are all going to have these little hills and valleys, these little waves personally that we're going to have to get through. Okay? But the last thing we do is we take it out on other countries, or we try to take it out on ourselves. Now, I understand we have politicians and stuff that are going to control certain things, and hopefully they do justice and they take care of the people. Now, I'm not going to get into politics about what leaders, but I'm going to say this in respect to our president. I don't like Trump, and I won't get into that. It's my personal opinion. It doesn't mean anything. But any particular president or leader we had right now in the United States would be going through a lot of criticism, as well as a lot of support. So it doesn't matter who's the one that's in charge. They have got a lot to handle. They've got a lot to deal with. And sure, there's things he shouldn't have said, he could have said, and I'm not going to get into that. You know what? That's another time. What matters is that we all pull together and we get through this. But I just heard today, and a lot of you that know that I don't like Trump, I want to give him a compliment, because I just heard today, and if this is true, it's pretty amazing, is that I guess Saudi Arabia, as you saw, all the gas prices went down, and Saudi Arabia was purposely lowering all the gas prices to try to help collapse our economy, because our economy is getting hit pretty hard in the stock market. And since we're like the number one supplier of oil, they were bringing the prices down way below ours. Well, from what I'm hearing is Trump took some of the Federal Reserve, took some money, bought up all that oil so that we have extra reserve. Bought it at a really low price. If that's true, that's freaking brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, let me move on. Regarding this prophecy, we have to be very careful, because we're going to be walking on eggshells after we get through this wave of the coronavirus, because our tensions and our worries are going to be high, because a lot of us are going to be having financial problems. And of course, there's going to be medical problems for those that do get the virus and have illnesses and everything. So we're going to have to really comfort people as much as we can. But we have to be careful that if we go into martial law, or they impose martial law, which they could if people get out of hand, because what we're expecting is, we haven't even hit that crest yet. There's going to be more and more people getting it every day in the United States. Okay, and I know the UK are starting to initiate troops. A lot of the shopping centers and a lot of the stores are completely out of food in some areas. So I just got word today that it's possible within the next week or two that they're going to have troops in London. Now, what's happening in the UK and has happened in other countries is going to happen in the United States. So we have to look at the way they're handling it and what they're doing, and we have to take those precautions and prepare as necessary. Because as you see, we got people still going out, going to the beaches and doing stuff. That's not going to get rid of this. We have to all do this together. If we don't, then they could enact where there is a complete lockdown and you can't go anywhere. Now there's just like a shelter ordinance that's in where you got to stay in your house, but you can go out for emergencies or you can go out for a walk. You just can't do social interaction. You have to keep 6 feet of space. So you can go take care of a pet. You can take care of somebody that's sick or whatever, get basic necessities, but you have to come back home and you got to keep that distance from people. Now, if this gets mandated where we can't even leave our house, if it goes that far, then that could end up causing a martial law. It could cause some of these other rules and laws to be enacted, and God knows how long that could be. It could be 30, 60 days, possibly 90 days. For a lot of people, that's too much. They won't be able to handle it. So there would be some disorder and some chaos. That's normal. Look what happens in other countries. We have to do our best to try to prevent that. Because if that happens, and then we blame other countries and we get involved with other countries, we could end up getting in some type of war with them, and we don't want that. I'm warning you, that is on the timeline. We have to avoid that. The other thing is, as we know what happened with 9/11, the Patriot Act was passed with all these rules and laws that nobody in Congress read, taking away a lot of our freedoms. The same thing can happen here if we go into martial law, or we got the Stafford Act, which is being initiated, some defense funds and everything that occur. Some other laws could be passed during this time that once this goes away, the coronavirus, that those laws remain in effect. So we have to pay close attention to that as well. The other thing is, we had earthquake just hitting Utah. We've had earthquakes and volcanoes and fires going around on the earth, so we have problems with the earth. But, the atmosphere may be helped from all of us not being out there by exposing and putting stuff into the atmosphere with the carbons and everything. So it might help clean up some of the waterways and some of the air for a temporary period of time. So there are a lot of positives to this. But we have to be careful too, because the earth is telling us something. And my big fear is that we have a huge earthquake in the United States while we're going through this, or at the very end of this, and it becomes another event. That is my fear, because we've had a lot of earthquakes around the United States that have increased, gotten larger. Instead of the 2 or 3, they've gone up to 5 or 4. And a major earthquake hitting the United States when we're also going to be drained from all this money trying to take care of the people and getting through this coronavirus. Now, current events. I just stated earlier that the UK has had troops and military vehicles going in through Birmingham, and a lot of the stores are out of food. My co-host Barry has sent me some videos of shelves and stores completely empty. Now, in America, we haven't seen that yet, except the toilet paper and hand sanitizer. There's plenty of food right now, but there's going to be a period of time where some of these warehouses, some of these companies start shutting down, and not many supplies are being distributed. And then the resources we have are used up, and we may have some empty shelves. We may have some stores that are completely out. So we have to ration, and we have to be careful of that, because that could send people into panic. If you look at the studies that have been done over the years in psychology and social experiments, people will start freaking out within 3 days, 4 or 5 days. Within 7 days to 2 weeks, they go crazy in certain parts of the country, in the cities, which is why we are now seeing the National Guard and certain military is being dispatched, Homeland Security and military being dispatched to major cities. They're primarily doing that to set up emergency locations for people that have the virus, such as beds, freezers, equipment, to take care of them, because a lot of the hospitals and other places are not able to take care of this if a lot of people get this virus. So they're using the military, FEMA, and other organizations to go out there and start setting up these centers. But they're also putting these things in place in case things get out of hand, to control people as well. Should they have to enforce a mandatory curfew where we can't leave our home? This is coming. I've had people contacting me that are in the National Guard or know someone at the Pentagon, even in the European Union, that these things are all being put in place. On Monday, received the message that a famous Hollywood person was just told by the senator that they are voting on martial law in the next 48 hours. Well, it's now Thursday, so they've probably voted on it within the last few days. What is the outcome of that? I have no idea yet. Then I heard yesterday, someone else had told me that the National Guard and certain military were told that it's possible we could go to martial law. Now, look up martial law, and you can see that the government takes control of distribution, takes control of everything else to try to control the population for some type of world event. I'm not an expert on the particulars of that, but you can look that up. If that happens, then it happens. Sometimes things like this have to happen to get people to where they need be, to get through some type of chaos. Now, I'm only telling you this, like someone says, why are you fear-mongering? Why are you bringing up the... Listen, if a tornado was coming to our neighborhood and you lived in my neighborhood, wouldn't you want me to tell you that a tornado's coming? Or do you want to wait till after the devastation, your house is destroyed, or who knows what else got hurt because of it or died from it, and you're like, why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you that, look what's going on in Italy and Spain. It's obvious at this point now that we have to take this seriously, but we take it calmly and we go, hey, we'll get through this. It's going to be a period of time. We're going to have challenges. And like the prophet was telling me, these waves are coming, but most people, they're not going to be prepared, and they can't handle any type of challenge like that. So you must keep your feet grounded and realize this will pass, and you just have to get through it. So it seems so far that this has moved through China and they're shutting down a lot of the hospitals, okay? But now South America has over 1,000 cases. So this is going to start hitting South America and some of the other islands and some of the other countries. What's interesting about what I've been telling you about the waves and everything like that is this apostle, this prophet that told me this vision back in May of last year used waves as a metaphor. But it has an interesting little coincidence to what is being discussed by certain politicians and scientists in explaining this virus. You will see the word wave used by them, and it's been used this past week. The New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, warned Tuesday at a press conference, we're entering a new phase in all of this. We've talked about early detection. We talked about testing. We talked about containment. You see those numbers are going to go up. That means we're moving towards a mitigation phase. The concept is right. Flatten the curve, slow the spread so the healthcare system can handle it. But I don't think of a curve. I think of a wave. And the wave is going to break. And the wave is going to break on the hospital system. It's interesting how he is using the word wave. And yet there was someone posted something else to me yesterday, didn't get a chance to look at it, specifically who stated this. But they also use that there's going to be waves of illness from this and after this. So the word wave was used specifically by higher consciousness to explain this is the time that we are dealing with this. So for USA, the information that I've got, now remember, because of these prophecies I've had in the past, I've been paying attention to what's going on in our timeline, saying, okay, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? And listening to what our politicians are saying during some of these press conferences, because they will give away the next step in a generalization. They will state something they're doing now and that they're thinking about this, or they may do this, and they will say a generalized term concept, which is encompassing of the next stage. So you have to listen to what they're saying. As I stated on my social media, on Twitter, on Instagram for the past couple weeks, and even when I was posting beginning of the year, I'd show the little wave icon saying, it's coming, it's coming. They are doing it in stages and waves. You know how when you're by the ocean, you get these little waves and the waves get bigger and bigger? That's what's going on. So it's possible we could end up having a lockdown completely across the United States or just the major cities, martial law if things get out of hand. And this could last anywhere from 30 to 60 days, but could go 90 days because some of the National Guard says, expect you may stay for 90 days, but we're expecting 30 to 60 days. Does this mean it's going to happen in all 50 states? I can't answer that. I don't know. It's going to happen where there's the biggest population, and they're going to spread out from there. So it's time not to be ignorant and get mad at other people saying, oh, you're just falling for this BS. It's a hoax and everything. People are dying, okay? And if people are dying and getting sick, and I've had some of the people that follow me send pictures of them in the hospital on a respirator saying to pray for me because they've got it. So people are getting it. So let's not be ignorant. Let's be respectful. And let's be very respectful to the nurses, the doctors, the police, the National Guard, as well as the people that are out there now putting themselves in harm's way because doctors and nurses are getting it to protect and to help us. We must support them just like we did with the police and the firemen after 9/11. This is important. Now, politics, they're going to be fighting with one another. You know what? We got to say enough is enough. No more bullshit or pointing the fingers. Let's get politics to support one another on this and get through this together. That's the only way we're going to get through it. And let's stop talking about the Republicans and Democrats because you know what? We all live in the United States. Let's just put those differences aside and let's join together to get through this. Stay grounded. As this thing told me, don't get caught up in the tide. That's part of the tide, arguing that. So don't put it in other people's faces, who you're going to vote for, who you believe and stuff like that. Let's say, you know what? Let's get through this together, put those differences aside. Listen, I played on a championship football team. I put together one of the top teams in our league, and we won the championship. We went undefeated. What did I do? I didn't get everybody that thought the same. I looked for each individual for that position. That when I asked them, I said, this is what I am requiring of you. Can you do this at this position? That's all I need you to do. And they said, yes. And I did that for every single person. And these are people that all different beliefs and religions and stuff like that, certain music they like, didn't matter to me. I wanted to make sure that what they were required to do, they could do it, and that's all they were going to do. And that's why we won the championship. So forget about the differences and everything like that. Is let's all get together and deal with this and lift each other up and support them to get through this. Now, some other solutions, okay, that I want to give to you guys. And I want to give you a couple free things here too as well. Is some of you, not all of you, are homebound now. You have to stay home, all right? The rest of you, it's coming. Eventually, you're going to have to stay home. So what do you do with that time? Listen, in one way, you can think negative. Oh, great. I'm not working. I can't pay my bills. You're right. I completely, my heart feels for you. I'm going through the same thing. But you know what? I'm not worrying about that. I've had ups and downs like that financial in my life as well. That's really not important. If I die tomorrow or later on in this year, that would be the last of my worries. So what it means is, what can I do today? What can I accomplish today for myself to grow as well as for other people? That's how you have to think every day in your home. Don't be sitting there sleeping in, watching TV, playing video games to ride this out. It's going to be longer than you think. So start doing something proactive today. To get a positive mental attitude and a mindset, you need to do something today. And that means you put a schedule together. Write out a schedule today. What I did on my Facebook is I posted some JPEGs. I tried to do the PDF. They don't allow the PDF. But I put on my Facebook today, about half hour ago, Chris Fleming 91. Chris Fleming 91 is my public page. I have screenshots, 6 screenshots that I want all of you to print out. I want you to print those out. I want you to read that, and I want you to practice those principles every day. Those principles are going to get you through this, okay? It's going to give you something to do every single day, and you can thank me later. The thing is you've got to create a schedule for yourself. If you're not going to work now, then you get up in the morning just like as if you were going to work, and you start doing these things on the schedule. You reorganize your entire environment. The thing is that to prevent us from going crazy, to prevent us from going nuts and freaking out by anxiety and worry, like Jesus says, and other prophets, and even motivational speakers, why worry about tomorrow? Because it has not come. Prepare for today for tomorrow, but don't worry about it. Be constructive and try to accomplish something today, because tomorrow when it comes, you'll be like, oh God, thank God I accomplished that yesterday. Makes sense, right? So I have a list of things that I do every single day. In this list that I put on my Facebook at Chris Fleming 91, it's going to tell you all the things you can do in your home and for yourself. And it's basic. You go from room to room in your apartment, your home, your condo, whatever you live in. You start with one room and you completely clean it out, reorganize it, clean down the floors, whatever, reorganize the books, the drawers, redo your sock drawer, go on videos and find out how to really fold socks. Find out how to fold your underwear. You know what? My entire life, for 50 years, I didn't know how to do that stuff. I just did it the way I did it. And I went online and watched these videos back in November and December, because I did feng shui in my house. And I learned how to actually, you're supposed to fold socks and underwear. And I was like, holy cow. Wow, it's so much nicer in my drawer. I'm doing a little sarcasm there, but it's true. So you go from room to room, get rid of stuff, create more space for yourself, get rid of things that you don't use or you're never going to use, or just were a waste of money. Like, why did I buy this? And put it in a box, put that box in the garage, in your attic, whatever, or you put it on eBay, sell that stuff, sell it at a garage sale later this year when everything else is cleared up, or donate it and give it away. Seriously, do it. Now's the time to do it. So get rid of all the stuff that you no longer wear, you're not going to use, and just taking up space. Clean that room and that space, then move to the next room, then the next room and the next room. And you write out a floor plan. If you have a 1-floor place that you live, you write out all the rooms, and then you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through each room until it's done. It's going to take you days, maybe a week, but do it. You got the time. Put it to use. Because guess what? After you accomplish that, the biggest thing to get through any type of challenge or anxiety of events going on in the world is to have some sense of accomplishment, some sense of motivation to get through it that keeps you occupied. How do I know this? I read a report on prisoners that have been in prison either for their entire life or going to be in there for a few years. Do you know how they pass the time? They say what they do is they keep a schedule where they make themselves get up and do activities. They volunteer to do certain things, whether it's laundry, this and that at the place. They go out and work out. They go out and do book reading, lectures, whatever they can possibly do to keep their mind so they don't go crazy. Anthony Robbins had years ago, he interviewed a guy who was in Auschwitz, was a prisoner. And each day, he didn't know if he was going to live or die. Because as the Nazis told him to line up, they had two lines. The one line sent people to the gas house. The other line sent people to go work out in the fields. He says, every day I didn't know which line I was going in. So how'd you keep yourself going? He goes, well, I was always hoping and believing my wife was still alive. And I said, I'm not going to give up because I want the opportunity to either know whether she survived or see her again. So every day I had her in my mind. And when I was in the fields and I was starving and people were dropping around me, I just looked at her in my mind and said, that's my goal. He survived and he found his wife and she did survive. She was taken somewhere else. That's how he got through it, is he kept his mind occupied with a very positive mindset. And the only way you can do that is saying, well, I can't affect and change what's going on outside in the environment, in the world, in the politics, in this coronavirus, but I can stay in so I don't get it, or if I do have it, to stay healthy, and I can constructively do something every single day that's been building up over the years I've lived here and I never got to. So if I can do this, the time that this passes, and I go back to work or I go back to doing a regular daily living, I'll have this sense of peace knowing that everything in my house is done. I've accomplished so much. That's how you get through this. So what else can you do? Solutions. One, you write out a major definite purpose, okay? And I'm going to actually post this right now where you can learn how to do that. I mean, I also offer time to be able to do that, but I want to give you guys this free. So there you go. There's the link. Click on this, print this out. You can write out your major definite purpose, okay? And if you want help writing that, you can set up an appointment with me and we can go through it. But, you know, I'm giving this to you guys free and it's self-explanatory. The other thing is creative expression. Start painting, drawing, writing, singing, creating music, play interactive. I put this goofy, funny, kind of stupid little song on my Twitter and my Facebook called Deja Vu because I was having fun on GarageBand. Lyrics popped into my head and I wrote it. Now listen, I'm not a singer, but I sang it anyway and I had fun. You know, that's what you do. We are creative beings. So express that. So play brain games, stuff to keep your mind stimulated. All right. Read books, you know, take some online courses, education. Start learning something you've been wanting to learn. Stay active and creative on a daily schedule routine. All right. The other thing is to meditate. You got to sit down and meditate. If you don't control your minds, who is going to control your mind? Negative spirits, other people getting you down and worrying. Listen, if I die tomorrow, I don't want to be worried about it because it's going to come anyway. So I want to enjoy today so I get the most, like squeeze all that juice out of that lemon or that orange or that apple, right? That's what you do. So you meditate. Listen to binaural beats. Go on the internet and YouTube. You can find a lot of them for free, all right? But this is what I'm going to do for you too. Some of you know I've talked about the Gateway program, and I've had my podcast, which I talk about it last year, and here's the link to the podcast. Listen to this podcast, okay? And you'll hear the amazing things that I got from doing the Gateway program. But here's what I'm going to do better just for you guys, all right? People said, where do I get the Gateway program? Let me tell them, I've been telling you, get it here, get it here. The Gateway program was made years ago, and it sells for like $500, all right? If you can find it, but they'll sell just the one wave, two wave. There's 7 waves, ironically, they use the word wave, to this program. I have the entire program digitally, all 7 waves, that I'm just going to give to you guys for $49, all right? Now, you can go look around, find it wherever you want. I'm just telling you that for 30 days, I'm going to do this because I want to keep you guys occupied. And those that know me have tried this and done it, and they love it. And I love it. It helped me regain my brain after my car accident, after I had the concussion. It was very healing for me, but also gets me to relax. So here is the link for that. I just did this today for you guys. I'm only going to do this for 30 days. Is for like $49. You're going to get a zip file. So learn how to unzip the file. If you have any problems, you let me know. But what you get is you get the entire program, all 7 waves, which is over 20 hours of audio to listen to. And you listen to it with noise canceling headphones. And there's 2 handbooks in there as well that guide you through it. So take advantage of that right now. Listen to my podcast if you're unsure and come back to it. All right. The other thing is, here is my Facebook where I just posted the JPEGs of 6 pages that I want you to print out. And you can use this as a daily schedule and how to stay active during this time of either lockdown or shelter in your home. All right. If you're not working and you have some time, even if you're working, but then you got a lot of free time, you want to take advantage of this. So go to my Facebook here, Chris Fleming 91, and you'll see it. I just posted it a half hour ago. So you can print all those things out. If anyone knows a way that I could also put up a PDF on Facebook, I'll do that. So you guys can just print out the PDF because the PDF contains the links. All right. The other thing is you do the meditation, then you do exercise, which is important. You got to exercise, stay active. Now, some of the rules with the sheltering is you can leave your home, go for a walk and hike, but you got to keep at least 6 feet distance from other people. Okay. If they take that away. So go for a walk every day for at least a half hour, an hour. Exercise in your home, doing yoga, workouts, cardio. There's plenty of different things you can do online. All right. You can watch what's going on online. You can watch these videos, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I do yoga upstairs. I got a 20-minute video that I do throughout the week. Keep active and make sure you work out at least for a half hour or an hour a day physically, because we want to do mind, body, soul, right? You're going to do all these things. You're going to clean up your environment like it says on these 6 pages that I just put on my Facebook, all right? To reorganize your house, reorganize your life, your kitchen, your basement, your closets, all that stuff. Now is the time to do it. I've done that. Something told me to start doing that. I did that started in November, and I did feng shui with my whole house. Jump online, learn about feng shui, okay? Find out what your cow number is. It's a number that you get based on your birthday. That number tells you that for the best vibration and where you're supposed to be is certain things in your home are supposed to be facing a certain direction, whether that's north, south, east, west, or northwest, based on that cow number. I was like, oh my God, I've got a lot of things screwed up in my house. So I started moving things around based on those placements. And I did that for 2 months. I went through every single room of my house, cleaning it out and reorganizing stuff. And I love my house now. For the first time being here 14 years, I actually feel like this is my house. I'm not kidding. For my friends that have been in my house, they know this. They saw me do this. So I did this before this event even happened. So I'm speaking from experience. Do it, okay? Let's see, what else do I have for you guys? Is feng shui. Look that up, environment. Now, I'm also going to post for you is a link to my Genbook. If any of you guys want to talk, you want to do a question and answer session, you want me to do spirit art for you, you want me to help you with a definite purpose, you just want to have a conversation. I've had this site now for, 14 years in offering bookings to get a hold of me, either face-to-face. Well, obviously, we're not going to be doing too much face-to-face now, but over the phone or on video Skype. So take a look at this. You don't have to do it, but if you're going to have a lot of time, you want someone to talk to, you want to look at what your spirit and soul's doing, you want to talk about problems in your life, I'm here for you. And you can see some of the reviews I've had and all the different services, and it's not that expensive to compare it to other people out there, all right? Right now, that's the only way I'm making a living is this. So I'm just going to present this to you because I have the ability to do that. So I've shared with you guys a bunch of these things. Coming up in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be redoing my ChristopherFleming.com, which is my website, ChristopherFleming.com. I can't touch it right now because it's outdated and it won't allow me to get in there. So I'm using Wix, and I'm going to rebuild that over the next couple weeks. That will allow you guys to get access to some of the other stuff that I have. I'm going to be putting some of my videos up there, some of my lectures that I've done, as well as I'm looking now to put together an online lecture. Since I can't travel, all my gigs have been canceled. The events that I was supposed to speak at have been canceled. So what I'm going to do is I've got them on my laptop. So I'm going to set something up where I'm going to offer you one of my lectures on ghosts, the afterlife, near-death experiences, sixth sense, and stuff like that. So I'm going to figure out how to do that in the next couple of weeks, and then offer a time that you guys can jump on, sign in, and I can speak to you with the slides and the graphics and the videos of the stuff that I do, usually live in front of an audience. Also, someone told me to sign up for Cameo, which, I don't know, but it's Cameo where you say a message to somebody and you send it. So I'll take a look at that. So I appreciate that message. The other thing is my Spirit Talk podcast is just Google or search for Spirit Talk. It's on iTunes. It's on Planet Paranormal. It's on a bunch of other streaming services. I've been doing it 14 years. I have over 100 episodes. Listen to whatever episode interests you. For the actual details and little summaries, go to theplanetparanormal.com and you'll see it. But a lot of you have loved it, and I'm very fortunate. I won an award in 2019, the Higgy Pop Award for Best Paranormal Podcast, and I want to continue to do that, is bring that content for you guys, and it's completely free. All right, some people charge for their podcasts. I do it for free because I love doing it. I love sharing information and knowledge with some of the best, the smartest people that are out there, okay? I had on hold for a couple of years, which hopefully I'll get some time to do, because I'm going to have some time as well, is to launch a video series called Revelations. And that will be going deep into some of my experiences, as well as the terminology and the cases around the world of certain paranormal topics, but getting into the science and the parapsychology of it. Also, I have a couple TV shows that I've done in the past that never aired on TV that I was a producer on. So I'm going to relook at those, re-edit a little bit, put some more evidence in there, and I may post them somewhere online so you guys can watch them, because they were really good, and sadly they just never made it to the network. So I will put that together for you as well. All right. So that's it. With this, I have not been reading your things because, as you see, I've been talking passionately about everything and trying to get it done, because we've only got about 10 minutes left. Or I could go over a little bit. I have 2 documentaries I hope to post. One is where I went to Jamaica and I communicated with some of the spirits there. I helped a little boy that was getting attacked by duppies, ghosts, as well as I learned Mayal and Obia, which are some of the rituals to communicate with spirits in Jamaica. And then another one was where I communicated with John Wilkes Booth and Abraham Lincoln. And I worked with my buddy Corey from Southwest Ghost Hunters, and we got some amazing responses from John Wilkes Booth. We spoke to him, and we did prayers for the dead and sent him home. And the woman forgave him. The family forgave him for what he did. So did Abraham Lincoln. So it's pretty freaking cool. So I'll see what I can do to post that online as well. Let me see. I don't know if I can post this whole thing, this daily routine. I've got the copy here. There might be some errors in here, but let's see if I can post this whole thing for you guys. It looks like it. Oh, I went nuts. It's way too much copy. Sorry. It won't do that. Okay. Now I'm going to look at some of your responses here. Okay, someone wrote, "I've been getting attacked." Well, that doesn't help me. I don't know what's attacking you. My house actually is haunted, but it's all good. Well, that's good. I can instant message you, Chris, some of the questions that have been coming through. Wow, wicked sweet. Any advice to get rid of imps? Yeah, the one thing for imps, obviously you got to do prayers for the dead, for the spirits that are there. But in dealing with imps, they're of a negative dark vibration that likes to cause oppression. So you want to fill your house with, and I know it sounds cliche, but love and light. So you want to play good music. You want to always have a positive mental attitude. Don't be negative in the home. Don't allow other people to be negative in the home. That's what they want. That's what they feed off of. And always tell them, and even tell them, I love you. You know what? God loves you. Heaven loves you. They don't like that. They really don't like that. Where can I access my house, help my house is haunted? If you live in the UK, you can watch it on some of the playback services. Sometimes it pops on YouTube, but it gets taken down instantly. So I can't tell you really where. I don't think there's any subscription services that you can get outside the UK to watch it at this time. Please, thanks for all this. 2 questions. What happens to you when you channel? What do you think of the Necrofork? I don't know anything about that app. I have not used it. What happens to me when I channel is basically you access the ether of collective consciousness and you give permission to allow that spirit to come through bits and pieces of its own consciousness. So you can kind of feel its emotions, you get some of its thoughts and some of its information. And sometimes you allow it to take over and it will speak directly through you. It's like a co-op experience. How are you certain you're speaking to spirits and not something else? Well, listen to my podcast from January 2019. I've had experiences my whole life. So I believe, because of what I've encountered my whole life with angels, demons, everything, that I have discernment of spirit. Can I get shampoo at a drive-thru? I don't know. Can you? Maybe. Chris, will you share the experiences you're doing with the waves on the Gateway program? Yeah, Truth Seekers, if you listen to my podcast I posted earlier on this link, go to my May 2019 Spirit Talk podcast. I talk about the Gateway. What else? I have the virus. I'm sorry to hear that you have the virus. You're going to get through this. If I can give you just some advice in talking to some medical dietitians, is drink high alkaline water if you can get access to it, 8.5, 9.5. Make sure your body's not acidic. You want to control the alkaline, because if you're very acidic, it's a breeding ground for bacteria and for viruses. That's the one thing that you want to do, is balance your pH and get your pH, the alkaline, higher. That will help with your immune system in fighting it, okay? How are you? Okay. Can spirits tell you about what's going to happen in the close future? Yes, but sometimes spirits will also lie. The negative ones will, to create fear and panic. But some of these visions I had obviously were from a higher vibration. Have you done much work with the Spirit Box communication? Yes, I am the co-creator of the Spirit Box with Gary Galka. I basically presented the Spirit Box to the world on Ghost Adventures in 2009, October, and Gary and I co-created over about a year and a half. Was that a military plane you heard last night? Well, my next door neighbor works for O'Hare Airport and he works in traffic control. He didn't believe it was, but he also woke up and says that was not normal. What we're finding out is that they now opened up a different air pattern to fly over our homes. So planes are now flying over our homes. But yes, there has been some military planes that have flown National Guard into Chicago, into some of the other reserves that are going on. So they're bringing in personnel. But the one last night, we don't believe it was, but I think it might have been. But he says he's not sure, but he doesn't think it was. We used to be coming to Minnesota in October. Yes, I believe everything will be cleared up by Minnesota. We'll have something else we're dealing with at the time, but I think we'll be able to go to wherever we need to. Can you teach my child not to be afraid of empathy abilities like I have? Yes. Once again, I'm going to leave my link for bookings. Set up an appointment with me, and then I can talk to you and your child over the phone or on Skype, and we can walk your child through that to empower him to deal with what he's dealing with. Okay. So there's my link right there. How is your relation going with elementals and pixies? Well, we've had a couple sightings in the home, and I've had someone here when something went racing across the room. So I think they're definitely around. Chris, I've had Christians tell me either go to heaven or hell and don't stay here. Well, then the Catholic religion believes differently. So does other religions, that there's a purgatory. I definitely believe there's a purgatory. And if you remember, as it says in Scripture, that Jesus will come back to raise the living and the dead, and then the angels will come back to raise the living and the dead. Who's the dead? You know, it's not the dead in hell. It's the dead that are still stuck here. Because the dead, the ones that are in hell, are being judged. How was the detuned SB7 created? Gary and I talked about that and what he did. And that's my favorite device, is the detuned. The original detuned SB7 is he put more of the power to the FM, and he cut off some of the antenna signal to the AM. So it takes out some of the white noise that's in the AM. Have you gotten past wave 4 in the gateway? Yes, I'm on wave 6. Wave 5, the end of wave 5. Why was I worried too? because I started seeing other spirits that I didn't know who they were that were around me. They were of a different dimension or different frequency, and I had not encountered them before. So it was a little scary to me, that unknown, as well as a voice said to me, if you go any further, there's no going back, because I was accessing time and space. If you listen to my podcast, The Gateway, I'll talk briefly about that in accessing the past, because I know darn well that if I perfect that with the gateway, I'm going to go back and change my car accident as well as my knee injury to try to get myself, which means I'll create a different timeline, which they may say is why I can't go back, because then when I access that timeline, some of the things I have today may be gone. Has season 3 of Help My House is Haunted been commissioned yet? No, we haven't heard anything yet. I know I was supposed to make a guest appearance on some other show a couple weeks ago and it got canceled. So I believe Help My House is Haunted is on hiatus until all this blows over. Plus, I cannot travel to the UK because they cut off all traveling from America to other countries, specifically Europe and the UK. I have an SBC. How's your mom and sister? I'm actually going to be going over there later tonight for dinner. My mom's doing really well, and my sister's in town. She came in town last week because of what's going on, and also to make sure my mom's okay. And my sister will be going back home in the next couple of days. Your favorite motivational quote? I think I love a lot of quotes by Tesla, Napoleon Hill. Einstein had some great quotes. Here's the thing is I really like to surround myself with intelligent people that are even smarter than me. And I don't consider myself, listen, I got a degree in psychology and art. Okay. And I did very well, but I could have studied other things and I wish I did. So I've had to just rely on books and people that I know to learn what I can. There's still a lot of things I wish I could learn, but I like to surround myself with people that are not stupid, ignorant, and lie. I like to be around people that are intelligent and that are always growing and improving themselves, because then that's a reflection of me, but then also I learn from them. So I like to surround myself with other teachers, so to speak. Thank you. I hope we get a season 3 too. It's passionate, but the priority right now is taking care of myself, my cats, and my family and my friends. That's what's important to me right now, as well as to accomplishing all these other things that have been piling up, projects for myself in my house, such as my website, getting my taxes done, start writing my book, do this video series, go through all my emails that have built up the past couple of years. That's what my priority is. How do you tell the difference between bad luck and a negative attachment spirits? Well, bad luck's going to happen. Sometimes bad luck teaches us something, but we have to increase our sixth sense so we can avoid danger and recognize opportunity. If you increase your higher consciousness, your awareness of your sixth sense and who you truly are, you're going to recognize some of these bad lucks and these things and to avoid them. You'll get that feeling, your intuition, I don't feel like I should do this. This live stream started at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, but I believe it'll be posted so you can rewatch it. I like your mind. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love your Instagram stories, seeing your cats. I appreciate that. Is it wise for your mom? Why they advise? What? Is it wise to visit your mom while they advise to practical? Oh, in visiting my mom, I don't touch her and I keep 6 feet of distance, just so you know that. Okay. Purposely, my stepdad, who's 92, and my mom, before this all blow over, I told them I'm going to keep my distance no matter what. So I've kept my distance. I do not touch them. I got them supplies over 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And I got them wipes, and I told them to wipe down the doors, and I don't even really touch the doors. I'm using my elbows so that I don't contaminate anything in their home. So I took all precautions. Will this pandemic be gone for good? No, it will disappear, and then it may come back in the fall or again later, but it will hybridize, which means that it will evolve into something else. But I think by then we'll have ways to handle it and to eliminate it. And it'll be in a weakened state where it may not affect us as much. Do you know how much about crystals and healing? Yeah, I've heard about crystals. I don't really use them, but I focus on a positive mental attitude. I have a multi-wave oscillator that I use for vibrations for healing, as well as the Gateway helped me heal. And I talk about that on my podcast. The Gateway really got me on the road to healing. Love you and your cats. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really am not a fan too much of the paranormal apps. There was a couple I liked, but I do not believe in the what do you call it? when you jam pack all the information in there and they use bits and pieces. I would rather just deal with the ether, get no noise at all, and just have them come through. If you study Marcello Bacci, look up online Marcello Bacci, who I believe was in Italy. So it's going to be in Italian, but you can find an English version. He used the old radios, and he was getting, there's no radio coming through. He goes to a shortwave station with no signals, and there's no bits and pieces that people are putting into these apps that, they'll say ghost and this and that, and they just come up on random and you think you're talking to somebody. That doesn't help. That's a false positive. Do you ever get stressed out doing what you do? I used to, not as much. Do you take time for yourself? Absolutely. Here's the thing, guys, is after my car accident in 2009, I was traveling and speaking a lot, and I was doing like 30, 35 events a year. And it was tough, but I was on painkillers and muscle relaxers to deal with the head pain and the neck pain. But then about 2012, 2013, I went off all that stuff because I was getting a little manic depressive. I was getting a little angry because of lack of sleep and because of the pain pills. And I started, I got in some arguments and fights with people, and it had to do with because of the side effects of that. And I'm man enough to admit that. And I got very self-centered because of my brain injury, that I was always talking about myself because my filter was gone and I couldn't really pay attention to other people. So I was very selfish at this point, but there was a reason for it. It was part of the symptom. So I ended up separating myself. I became a real introvert, and I didn't go to events. I wasn't invited to some events, and I stepped away from a lot of friends and people, and I became really individual and just depended on myself. And I went through a really hard time, and I don't want to talk about that right now, but it was the biggest, hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And I'm just grateful to be here today because of it. I don't have any memory of 2013, 14, 15, those 16. I started remembering things again in 16 or 17, but I have no memory of it because of what I was going through. And tried everything with the doctors. I went to doctors at Rush. I saw a psychologist that deals with traumatic brain injury from the car accident. But it was the neck pain affecting the brainstem with all the signals going to the brain that was causing most of the problems. So as the universe would say, through some people would say to me, well, you need to try something else. And I was angry. I tried everything. And they eventually said to me that, no, you're not trying everything. And I get mad. Yes, I am, because I thought I tried everything. So I said to the universe, what am I not trying? And then certain people out of the blue said, you try this? No, I haven't tried that. You know what? Maybe I'll try it. And I looked into it. I like to research anything before I try it. I'll go online. I'll read about it before I do it. So I did the deep water, deprivation tanks, saltwater tanks. And I started doing that because Navy SEALs were doing that after PTSD and after concussions. And I couldn't believe after the very first session, I slept for 2 weeks. I was getting deep sleeps. Imagine going through years from 2010 to 2017, where every single night you only get 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Every single night, only 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Think what that would do to you. That's what it was doing to me. And I'd be lucky if there would be one night that week I'd get 5 or 6 hours of sleep. So that was one of the reasons why I was just too tired and fatigued to be away from everybody. Well, the gateway helped. The saltwater tanks helped in doing that because it affects the brain and it resets the brain, which is the RAS system, the reticular activating system, which tells us when to go to sleep and when to wake up. Is it 100%? No, but it is so much better than what it was, to where now I can do the things that I enjoy and I can speak to you coherently. Before I would slur over my speech, and still sometimes I get words mixed up, which they call aphasia. Accessing the brain, accessing your mental database. That's affected by TBI as well as the brainstem being affected in the RAS system. That's been corrected. So I'm still healing, but I'm so much better, and I'm just grateful that I'm alive and I'm still here. And hopefully if I ever publish my book, you'll know what I went through. And I think I had to go through that because I know a lot of you have gone through some very tough things and hard things to do. So I feel your pain. So if you have problems sleeping, I suggest you try a flotation tank if you're able to, now or in the future. You get the gateway program and you do the first wave. The first wave is what healed me. It was 6 audio programs, the very first 3 audio programs, which is what affected me, and I started getting the deep sleeps. So if you're having a problem sleeping, just the first wave, the first 6 audio programs, which are a half hour a piece, will help you. And I'm going to post it again because I posted it on here, and I'll post it on I will also post it on my Facebook. But here is hopefully this will be the correct link for you guys. If it's not, let me know. But click on that link and you can order the Gateway program. If you're having a hard time sleeping, you got anxiety and all this other stuff, this will teach you to relax. Now, once you get into the higher waves, such as wave 3, 4, 5, that teaches you to expand your consciousness outside your body, that you are more than your physical body. And if any of you want to do soul traveling, it will teach you how to soul travel to where you can leave your body, you can come back. It doesn't work for everybody, but it does work. And it does work in getting you to relax. So people have told me that they have a hard time sleeping, have done this, and they've all of them have been able to sleep better. And when I say all, well, I've given this to 8 different people, friends of mine, and every one of them stated, oh my God, I'm sleeping better than I ever have. So it's worth it to try it if you've been suffering. And I'm so grateful that the universe landed this in front of me. And I went to the CIA website and I was reading about this thing that they did. And I said, you know what, I got to try this. Maybe it can help me. And it did. So I swear by it. What else? My brain like never shuts off. Then you should try doing the Gateway. Thanks for your honesty. I too has the chronic pain pills. Yeah. Then Susan, I suggest you try the Gateway because it also helps you get your body to relax. Sometimes a lot of the pain we have is also caused by us tensing up because we're bracing for the pain and our muscles are trying to protect ourselves. What this does, it gets you to relax all your muscles in your body. And you can get into those deep senses of sleep and relaxation. So try it, okay? And if you don't want to do the soul travel, then just don't worry about the wave 3, 4, 5, or 6. It's really when you get into like the 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can do just the wave 1 and 2. All right. Am I still able to talk to the other side? I hope so. Been doing it my whole life, so I hope so. More questions in your messages on Facebook. I'm suffering. I'm sorry you're suffering. Men who stare at goats. Yeah, well, actually, Men Who Stare at Goats was Lynn Buchanan as well as Joe McGonigal, who were part of the remote viewing program. I had the pleasure of working with Lynn Buchanan for 4 days at his home in Albuquerque in 2006. And he was part of the controlled remote viewing. And I've listened to some of Joe McGonigal's books. So what they did was real. And they actually, Joe McGonigal and some of the other military, went and studied this Gateway program back in the early 80s, late 70s. And then they put the analysis together and gave it to the Army intelligence and what it does with consciousness. And it's pretty amazing. So thanks for pointing that out with Men with Goats because it's true. So love you, my dear. You know me. You saved my life in 2009, and we met at Awakenings in the Twin Cities. Let's do dinner. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've been getting bad migraines for 7 years. When I feel something strongly, is that my body's way of channeling a spirit? I get a weird feeling. I can't answer that unless I knew more about it. And I'm not a doctor or someone that's going to, within 2 seconds on a message, give you a diagnosis. That wouldn't be fair. I would have to know more about your situation. What does it say? Can you read people in the chat? Well, sometimes, but when you've got all these different consciousnesses, you get bits and pieces of everybody. Major Dames was on C2Sue the other night with some crazy info. Yes, Major Dames I know of well, having listened to him all the time in the 90s on Art Bell, and he talked about a lot of things. One of the amazing things that Ed Dames talked about was all the fires going on around California, Australia, and everything else. And that they thought that was going to be in the year 2000, like 99 and 2000. Well, he was getting the year 2000, right? Well, 2020, 2019, 2009, 2010, 2019, 2020. So he's off by 10 years. So that's happening now. And I thought he was wrong. I was wrong back then. But then when I see what's happening, I said, oh my God, Ed Dames talked about this. They remote viewed this time period. We are in that time period. I'm sure that's probably what he's talking about right now. Do your abilities come from your mother's side of the family? Actually, both. My mother's side was the ESP and the sixth sense. She didn't see ghosts, but she could feel things, but she had precognition, visions and stuff like that. My dad was the one that saw ghosts and my great grandma, but they didn't like to talk about it because of religion. And they were just completely like, they had other things to do. They said, we don't know about that. We don't want to talk about it. Okay. I've got about a few minutes left here, guys, and I'm going to excuse me, I'm going to sign off, and then I'm going to go to my Facebook, and I'm going to put some more of these links here there for you on my Facebook, my public Facebook, Chris Fleming 91. I can't really accept any more friends on my personal one because I'm almost at 5,000. But my public page, Chris Fleming 91, is where I'm going to post some of these links for you guys, these free links. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll do it again right now. Is I will post some of this stuff for you that I was doing for everybody else. Is here is for your major definite purpose to keep yourself busy. It'll take you about an hour to write this out. It's very important if you want to find out what your path and your destiny is you can start the process by writing this out. Now, normally, you'd pay a lot of money for this, but you can get it on the internet free. So I'm going to give this to you for free. All right. So this is something that I've done multiple times, and I always go back to doing it every single year and look at it and tweak it, whatever's necessary. And I train people on this as well. I have a course that I train, but this is for free because you know what? With what we're going through, you guys need some type of some things to do constructively and better yourself, and that's going to help. Okay. So if any of you want to set up an appointment with me in the coming weeks, go to my Genbook page. Now, please understand, and I know this is a bug, and I'm so mad at Genbook, and I've been on them for this. If you're trying to book from overseas in the UK, realize there's a problem booking with the phone number because they don't allow international phone numbers on there. So just put in an American phone number, whatever it is, and then in the comment section, put in your actual phone number if you're outside the United States, and then you'll have no problem booking. But when you have these fields pop up, you got to put in the phone number, it won't take it. You can't get to the next window to book. So it's frustrating because I've paid them so much money over the last 14 years of having this website, and they have not corrected that yet. So go ahead and do that. Here's the Genbook again. And then you got the major definite purpose to get the gateway. All right, here is to get the gateway and order that. Let's see if that pops up. It's too much. Entire. Okay. These are zip files. Do the size of each one. Okay, so that's the gateway. And the PDF list, if you want to see the PDF list on my Facebook, this is it right here. Okay, go to my Facebook and print out every one of those JPEGs, the 6 ones, and that'll be your list of things that you can do and keep busy over the next time period. Is there any other questions? I'll take another 5 minutes of questions, and then I have to get ready, and I got to go over to my mom's. I had one of these dreams that a U.S. sonic missile was flying over my head towards east. And it had no sound and a circle sonic wave behind it. I don't want to talk about that right now. That'll be a wave down the road that we'll be dealing with. For right now, let's just get through this. And for those of you, like someone posts like, well, you're talking about this now. In my lectures that I've done at the Darkness Radio events going back to 2011, 2012, I spoke about, that we'd be locked in our homes. I spoke about martial law. I spoke about that there would be problems in the United States. And I spoke about that eventually there was going to be another war. And then I talked about the wave last year in May when I had this vision about the wave. And then early this year, I started posting stuff on my Twitter and Instagram that this was coming. And then 2 weeks before this happened, I'm listening to what's going on, and it's resonating with me based on these other visions. So I started saying, you know what? It's coming. Lockdown's coming. We're going to be, and I've been posting that on my Instagram on the highlights, and I've been mentioning certain things to prepare, strap in, things are going to get crazy on my Twitter. So you can go back and you can see all that stuff. And then the little wave icon, that's what we're dealing with. Waves of events that are happening. That's going to cause problems. And then people get sucked into this wave or hit by this wave because they don't see it coming. So that's the metaphor that this apostle that I was with said to me. But here's the thing, and I forgot to mention this, and I apologize, is after this vision with the apostle, which I stated earlier on tonight's live, when we were done, all of a sudden there was all these other people that were there too. So all these other people had soul traveled and were told this same thing, this warning. It wasn't just me. Please understand. There's many of you out there that are getting signs, sixth sense, precognitions, warnings. Pay attention to them. Write them down so that if they happen, you remind yourself and then you respond and you react to them. There's things that are going to pop up for opportunity for you. And there's things that are going to pop up for danger you need to pay attention to be prepared for. You need to listen to those things, okay? Um, I've recently been spiritually awakened. And here's the thing, we have to go back to our faith. We have to realize that we are spiritual beings from a creator, from an infinite intelligence, and we have to realize that we're more than our physical body. So I understand things are hard, this and that, and they're going to get harder. Yes, I have had enough coffee. And but you have to get through it, man. And like I said to my buddy, I said, you know what? I feel like I'm back in college playing football, and we got football games, and each game's a challenge we have to get through. So think about these events. This is our first game we got to get through. Okay, we got to get through this together. So think of sports. Even if you haven't played sports, you're in a game right now that it's going to be dependent upon how you react, how you prepare yourself, condition yourself to get through this. So if you want to win, you got to get through this, but don't do it at the expense of others by tearing them down, getting mad at them. There's going to be those, like you look at Noah, and whether you believe in that or not, it doesn't matter. It's a great story. It's a great metaphor. Is people were laughing at him because he's building this boat. I said, no rain's coming. What do you mean? It's a beautiful day. He says, oh no, it's coming. The rain's coming. And based on the story, we know what happened, right? The rain came, and then they were knocking on the door. So let us in. He says, nope, I got to take care of my friends and family. You didn't listen. You had your chance. So the thing is now is to prepare ourselves in just our mindset. And the most important thing is a positive mental attitude, our mindset. And I've shared those things with you. If you're just tuning in, go back and watch this whole thing. Click on the links to give you this information that guys, you got it. Some stuff you can purchase and some stuff you got for free. Take advantage of it. And then, I'll post another live, in the future here, but then I'll look at adding and doing some live presentations where guys can show you some audio, some video, and some slides of what I normally do at conventions when I go on stage and I speak to everybody, and which I love doing because I'll share this one last thing with you. Okay. And I've talked about the bridge, and this is why I'm doing what I do, because there's parts of my life I was very selfish, and I admit that I was very selfish, but it was selfish because there was good reason. My father, even though he loved me very much, he was very busy. He never had a son. He never had a father. He didn't know who his father was, so he didn't know. But my dad was at times, very caring and loving, but then at times he was selfish, and he would disappear, and there'd be abandonment where you wouldn't see him because he'd be busy doing something else, and it was very frustrating. Imagine that you don't get to see your dad that much because they're divorced. And all of a sudden your dad tells you, hey, son, you want to go play baseball? Because I loved baseball when I was a kid. He says, I'll come over at noon and we will go to the park and we'll play. Well, I haven't seen my dad in weeks or months, right? So I'm all excited. I got the day before, I got my baseball bat out. I got my mitt. I got my shoes. I got my hat. And sometimes when I was playing baseball, literally I had my whole uniform. I wear my whole uniform just because he's coming over. I want to make it a special moment. And I'd get up early and have breakfast, and I'd wait. And then it was 11 o'clock, 11:30, 11:45, and then it'd be 12. My dad's not there. And my mom's like, well, your dad's not here yet. And I said, well, I'll go to the park. So the park was across the street. So I go to the park and I sit there and wait. And my dad would never show up. And that happened a couple times. And there was other things too. Of things with other people. So you tend to try to impress them, or you tend to, talk about yourself because you never got to really talk about things with either your mother or father, because my mother was always working. And when she was always working, she would come home. She would work for days to support me and my sister because my dad didn't. He didn't pay any child support. My mom would be gone for a long period of time. And when she would come home, and she'd want to sleep because she was so tired, or she'd be out cleaning the house and cooking, doing everything else. So we didn't have much time to spend growing and interacting with our parents. So it was tough. So when you get older, you're not used to that. You're trying to latch on to people to try to have experience and be a part of something. And it becomes a little obsessive and a little clingy to a point where it kind of pushes people away. And I understand that. And I think that that's what happened at certain times within my life, especially after the car accident, because then I had no filter. I didn't realize what I was saying and doing. And you are just trying to, if anybody that's had a concussion knows that you get a disassociation, that's one of the symptoms, where you are no longer able to associate yourself with the environment, with people, and you feel like a ghost. So now I know what ghosts feel like when they're stuck in this darkness and this purgatory, is you don't feel like you belong at all, but you don't feel like even when someone's talking to you, you don't feel anything. You have no feelings and emotions. So it was very tough. So I was desperately trying to do things with my friends all the time, and they couldn't because they were busy, or I was turning them off in some way. And you became very lonely, and then you isolate yourself. And that's very tough. But I'm glad I went through it. I really am, because I got to resonate with a lot of people that go through stuff like that just normally without any injury and stuff. And I got to understand people more by understanding the brain and how it works, social interaction, and what's really important. And what's really important is really not yourself, but what you can do for others. And when you do for others, you heal. And not only do you heal, but you express your true identity of who you are. Just as long as you do it correctly, not for attention. You seriously do that. Well, after the car accident, one of the problems I had because of my neck injury is I would wake up choking, or sometimes I would stop breathing when I was sleeping. So I had a couple near-death out-of-body experiences while I was sleeping. And I remember my girlfriend at the time and other people, I'd wake up choking and they'd be like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And they'd wake me up because I couldn't breathe. And luckily I started breathing again. Because of the neck injury, the nerve would tell one of the muscles in the back to close up if I put my head in a certain position when it's not supposed to. And it would close up, which would cut off all the air going through the esophagus, and I would choke. A couple times, I opened up my eyes and I was floating above my body. And I realized, oh my God, I'm dead. I stopped breathing. So I'm yelling at myself, breathe, breathe, breathe. And then my eyes would open up on my physical body and I'd shoot back into my body and I'd sit up violently, gasping for air to get that one air in, because if you stop breathing, you're no longer in the body. But if you can get the body to breathe again, the soul will come back in. That's why you see with paramedics and everything, if they stop breathing, they have this window of time where the soul's just lingering. And if they believe, and one thing they can add to it if there's any paramedics out there, emergency response, is when you're doing this, we got to try to bring them back. Also, while you're doing that, talk to that person. Listen, I know you can hear me. You must come back. Please do this for me. Allow me to save you. Allow me to help you. But you must come back into this body. Do that consciously with your mind, and that soul will come back into that body. And then as it comes in, you get it to start breathing again. That's another thing to think about. So one of the events, and I'm going to end with this, is every one of us has a purpose that we're here. Everyone has gone through some challenges and terrible things like, why have I gone through this? Why could this happen to me? You must step away from that and find another part of you. And you must look at that and realize there's a lot of other people that have gone through it. And there's other people who've gone through it. You may not understand why you went through it, but there is some reason that we just don't understand yet. Trust me on this. And you must say, what can I do? This was taken away from me. This was taken away from me. I can't do this. I have this physical limit, whatever. But what is it that I can do? And if I don't know what it is I can do, I must find, there must be something, even one thing that I can do. A friend of mine, a boss I used to work for, said something a couple months ago. We went out. I hadn't seen him over 10 years. We're driving. And he said, oh my God, I forgot the guy's name. The scientist that was in the wheelchair, and he had Hawkins, right? He says, Chris, you know what's amazing about Hawkins is he had that injury when he was younger, and he was paralyzed, paraplegic for the rest of his life. But yet he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that, couldn't do this. But yet, and I believe he even still got married or something, even had a wife, is he used his brain. What he could use is brain, and he improved and increased his brain, and he surrounded everything else around his brain, such as the communications and the typing and everything that was hooked up to his mouth and everything to the brain so he could type. And he created from his brain. He took what he did have left and he used it to his full capacity. And that's what we have to do. I mean, I've made excuses. I've said, I don't have this, I don't have that. And I've done that a lot in my life, and I wasted a lot of time. But now I look at it differently because of my experience. And I say, what can I do? What we're going through right now, what can you do? I gave you some ideas during this live. I gave you some links. I gave you some suggestions. It doesn't mean anything unless you do it. Try it. You owe that to yourself to do something. Don't sit at home and watch TV and video and just sit there and worry and sleep in and become depressed, because you will. You will. Unless you put that time to use. Say, hey, I'm given a free time. This isn't a vacation. People say, oh, it's a vacation. It's not a freaking vacation. It's a time that you're given within this timeline to do something constructive. What are you going to make from it? So do what you can do and get it done. Not only will you be happy and impressed, but a lot of other people will be inspired by it as well. Because if you see people just sitting around, everybody else is going to sit around. Don't be someone that sits around. Be someone that inspires people and gets people going to do stuff. Come on, man. That's why you're here. You could die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. I want to fill in what I can before my time is up. So I'm going to end with this story. 10 years ago would have been in 2010, which was, I had the car accident September 23rd, 2009. And I was having episodes where I stopped breathing. One of those, I was on the other side. And I'm that in between. It's all white walls. There's no walls. I mean, it's all white, but you know there's no walls, but you don't know where it goes. And there's this angel, not an angel with wings, but I know it's an angelic enlightened being, spirit guide, whatever you want to call it, standing there. And I see him and I'm like, I knew exactly where I was because of all my experiences in life, seeing ghosts and communicating with spirits. I knew I was in that in between, ready to go into heaven. So I realized, because I had stopped breathing before, oh my God, I stopped breathing, but now I'm at another level. I'm in between, ready to go to heaven. So I said, all right, let's go. I don't want to go back. I don't like my life anymore. I want to go. He's like, no, listen to me. And I said, what do you mean, listen to you? I go, you mean to tell me I got to go back? He goes, well, you really need to. I said, I'm not going back. I go, I know that the law of the universe is free will. And if I don't want to go back as a soul and spirit, I don't have to. And he says, yep, you're right. You're absolutely right. You know. I said, yes, I do. So being the Taurus that I am and stubborn as I am, I went into a defensive pose with my arms like this, right? And I'm like, there's nothing you can tell me or nothing to make me go back, right? He says, Chris, I would never force you to go back. But can I show you something? I said, there's nothing you can show you that's going to change your mind. He's like, Chris, I would never change your mind. You would have to decide and you make the final decision. I said, yep. He says, look to the left. So I looked to the left and all of a sudden, which it wasn't there before, we're on a bridge. And below the bridge, there are thousands and thousands of people. I mean, okay, there might have been millions. I don't know. It doesn't matter. There was just so many people. I've never seen a crowd like that before, especially with the crowd staring at us. So I see all these people, men, women, children, all different ages and different varieties and nationalities. But they're all wearing white pearlescent robes. Their souls are all there. Their consciousness, their higher consciousness is all there. I said, who are all these people? He says, Chris, I'm so glad you asked. I walked right into it. I'm like, oh no. He says, Chris, these are all the people you haven't met yet. These are all the people you haven't spoken to. These are all the people that are waiting for you at some point in your life, in their lives, that you're going to have an experience, and they're going to have an experience. So I look and I go, I don't recognize any of these people. He goes, you don't now, but you will. So I look at him again. I'm like, but I don't. And then it hit me. As I looked at them, I asked, well, what is the interactions and how do I know these people? Instantly, flashes, boom, 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 from every single person of every interaction, emotions, yelling, screaming, help me, questions, emails, just everything. And I'm like, oh, and I felt every purpose and every intent and a reason, even some of them that are supposed to help me, that if I'm not there for them to help me, they're not fulfilling their purpose. So I turned to them and I'm bawling because the thing is, we have no idea. We get so caught up in our own problems, and I was, because of my car accident and pain I was going through, and my whole life's changing and this and that. My dad died. The relationship I was in was really toxic, all this other stuff. And I was always about me. Oh, woe is me, right? But now I realize, oh my God, woe is all these people combined, this collective. And I said, it's not about me. It's about these people. He says, yes. I said, send me back right now. I need to go back. And I shot back in my body. Now, at first I thought, okay, that was such a real dream. And I mean, I knew it was a vision. I was another place and I could sense it. But after a couple of days go by, a week, a month, you begin to think, oh, maybe it's just a dream. I really don't know what it means. Then I was at the NACA conference, National Association of College Activities, because I'm represented by GP to speak at colleges. And we had all these other speakers that were there, and we're sitting at a table for lunch. And one of the speakers, I won't mention his name, but obviously we know each other now. I didn't know him at the time. But he said, so you're into ghosts and stuff like that? And I said, yeah, and he was speaking about how to find that power in you and how to really become something in your life. And he says, I keep having this dream. Do you know anything about dreams? I go, yeah, I do. You got to be careful because there's a lot of, opinions about dreams, but they can have different meanings. What's the dream? He goes, all right, I got to tell you this dream. So he sits there and he starts telling me, and he goes, I'm in this place and there's all these people around me. And we're all like elbow to elbow. It's like a huge crowd. And I keep having this dream over and over again. I said, okay, well, what happens? What goes on? He goes, well, it's really weird. He's like, we're all standing there and we're waiting for someone. And I just keep waiting. And I'm like, who are we waiting for? We're like, well, we're waiting for these two people because one of the person is going to make an impact in our life. It just hasn't happened yet. So I said, well, who is this person? He goes, well, look up. There he is now. So he goes, so I look up and I see this bridge and I see two people. And then the one person comes forward and he's looking at us and he stops. He goes, oh my God, it's you. He goes, you're the person that was on the bridge. I go, what? I go, oh. And then I remember the bridge, the vision, where I was in between the afterlife and here. And we both stand up because now I've achieved a higher consciousness to where now I'm connecting with that other side of the bridge and realizing that this is actually real. He was one of the people in that crowd. And we both realized it wasn't a dream. It was real. How could both of us be in the same place at the same time and both have that vision? We hug each other. We got emotional. We sat down. Everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? You guys having a bro moment? And we're like, no, this is serious. So we both lean forward because I'm like, what is he going to tell me, right? Well, what else can he tell me about this? He leans to me, says, so what do I do? I said, I don't know. He goes, you're supposed to tell me something. I said, I don't know what it is. I go, what is the question that's been eluding you? What is it question that he's like, well, this is my question. So he tells me the question. Oh my God, I had the answer for it based on experiences I've had in the past. So I told him what it is, why that was important. He sits back going, oh my God, that's it. That makes sense. That makes so much sense. Now he can tie everything into his life and what he speaks about into a major purpose of what it all meant. And from then forward, he started implementing that into his presentations. And then he met this woman and he got really spiritual, actually. And I think he got married. And I am so grateful to be a part of that. But that was one person. Right after another, boom, 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 over the past 10 years, people saying the bridge, this and that, people like are saying certain things that had to do with that. And I realized, and especially when I did Help My House is Haunted and doing prayers for the dead, helping the soldiers go over because they were there, the miners go over because they were there, some of the souls that were trapped in the purgatory. That's why I do prayers for the dead, because that's all part of it. It is the living and the dead. But here's the bigger picture. That was just my experience. Every one of you is on that bridge too. Every one of you is in that audience, but then every one of you is going to be with your guide looking down on all these other people that you interact with, even that you don't know. Even that you don't know. I'm going to tell you this one last thing and then I'll let go because we've gone over the time. But to illustrate this, there are people we've come in contact with when we were younger and when we're older that we have no idea that something we've done so small or so simple impacted their life greatly. Impacted their life greatly. So what do? I had a friend of mine that in 7th and 8th grade, he came from Brazil. I didn't know him at the time, and he came to our school. And when he came to the school, he was terrified because he's from another country, didn't know anybody in our Catholic school and grade school. He was fearing going in there because his parents moved to America. And he walks into the class stage. He goes, all right, boys and girls, everybody, this is so-and-so. He has moved from so-and-so with his brother, and this is his first day. I jumped up, raced over, and I go, hi, my name's whatever. And I took him around and started introducing him to everybody. Because just the way I was the way my parents raised me, because my dad played professional hockey. So wherever we went, I was always being introduced to people. So I'm like, cool, another kid to play with, another kid to know. And I went in there and I did that. Didn't think anything of it, right? Years later, we were in high school. We got in a little disagreement, and I'm to blame for some of it. He's to blame. We both took responsibility. We got in a big fight, and it was disgraceful. I admit it. And for years later, it bothered me. It was always like, God, because he was such a cool kid, and I love him. He's a great guy. And I always felt bad about that. And then we have these regrets and these things that linger within us like, God, I wish I never did that. But then one day we were on social media and we were talking in Messenger, and I said to him, I was always upset. I really apologize. He goes, Chris, I don't even think of that. I've completely forgot about that. He goes, you know what I remember about you? He goes, you know what I remember about you? I go, what? He's like, the first day I went to school and I was terrified that nobody was going to be my friend and this and that. And you jumped right up and introduced me to everybody. Right after that, I knew everything was going to be fine. And I made so many great friends because of that. And I still am your friend. I didn't even know that. Do you know what? That washed away that fight that we had in high school. Because to him, what was really important was that one moment that I just didn't think was no big deal. So you have many people in your life that are like that that you've made an impact and you don't even realize it. Could have saved their life, could have put them into a direction that made something wonderful happen to them, could have influenced them, inspired them. You don't know. And you won't know until you're on that bridge and you see all the people you came in contact with and the impacts you made in their life. And then, of course, some of the things you probably did bad. But let me tell you this, if you've done something bad to somebody in their life, and then later in life or whatever, you've done something good, or even you did something good, they're pretty much going to focus on what you did that was good when you go to the other side, because that's what's really important. And sometimes those bad things teach us amazing lessons that we don't see right now, and taught them an amazing lesson, but you don't see it. And you might go entire life never talking to them again, but you don't realize what it is until the other side. I can promise you that because I've been there. I've seen it. So every one of you has been on that bridge too. I'm no different than you. I'm not special in anything. And Angels once told me, he goes, we do this for everybody, not just you. Every one of you. So what we've discussed today, what I've shared with you, are all these little pieces that come together of who you truly are and what you can do today to overcome this wave. Don't get caught up in the anxiety, the debating, the screaming and yelling, the getting mad and angry. Yes, there's going to be hard times, but look what all the other countries have gone through. Syria, Iraq during the war. People have lost everything. And then even our own history, when the settlers came in and they got sick and they got the plague and they died and this and that, and they lived off the land. You know, we've all become spoiled in a way, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of America. It's not. We're just some little challenges we're going to go through. But we have to have a positive mental attitude and remember that we are spiritual beings in a physical body here temporarily. So let's make the best of it, inspire one another, and practice our own mindset of doing things each and every day to get through this, to fix our environment, prepare our environment, so when things go back to normal, our home and who we are is perfectly grounded to get back to work. Okay? I want to thank you guys very much for listening. Please share this with other people. Send them to my Facebook, my link. And then hopefully we will talk again soon. Okay? Bless each and every one of you. You guys have a good night. Bye.